So to look back on our latest game, I am happy to say I'm joined by James, who is a Barnet fan. James, how are you doing?
Yeah, really buzzing, mate. It was an unbelievable day out in Colchester yesterday. I'm so happy to be here.
No worries.
No, I'm
No,
joking. It was a good day out. It was a good day out. Obviously, the better team won on the day, 100%.
no worries. James, you actually have your own podcast. What's it called? Give us a little plug. Let us know what it is.
Yeah, so me and my mate Sam, we do the B brief. So it's similar to this where we run through sort of the game that's just gone and sort of preview upcoming games. Just get any questions in from our fan base and just talk about how Barnet are doing. It's been a bit up and down this year, so it's been a bit difficult, but we're doing all right. We're doing well, so it's a good thing to do as well.
No worries. I will leave all of the links down below for the B brief. Head over there, give him a like, give him a follow, give him the love, and give him a listen to see what the full depth view of the Barnet from the Barnet fans of what that game was. But we will get into it. I think it's an old footballing cliche is I think perfectly sums up the game at the weekend of it was a game of two halves. I think the first half. Colchester, I think, gave you a bit of the sort of space. Your front three, I have to say, I was very impressed with. And it was the overall physicality and the sort of pace that Barnet had. That in the first half, I don't think we were able to play our football, but just the physicality of your team made it a bit difficult for us to really get into the swing of things. And obviously, went in half time, 1-1 and you just knew that the second half something had to change from both teams. But just on the first half in general, what was your at half time? What were you sort of thinking?
Well, at half time, we were talking to me and Sam who do the podcast. We're quite, I think I'd say we're quite tactically, we sort of understand the game. And I think we didn't dominate the ball as much as we usually do, especially this season. But you look at the stats from prior games and over the course of the season, Colchester are up there with us as having the most possession in the league. So we sort of knew going into it that it wasn't going to be a game where we heavily dominated. But I felt in possession we were poor and we kept giving the ball away really, really easily. And you could see that Colchester were you've got runners in behind, which is something we do lack. We do lack runners in behind, and it always felt like it was going to be a game that would turn on goals. And as soon as we said if we concede, we're probably going to lose 3 or 4-1 because that's just how we play. We were always going to come back and try and go for it. But I will come on to the second half in a minute. But the substitution we made at half time, I mean, killed us, to be honest.
I was going to sort of allude into that because Ollie Hawkins, really big, tall striker. He's when he came on, I was sitting there thinking, Jesus, for someone that's 6'5", 6'6", he can get about a bit. He's a decent looking player, and then 82nd minute, gets subbed off, takes his shirt off, throws it on the floor, and walks straight down the tunnel. And I looked at it and thought, that's a bit of an odd one. Is he someone then that just the Barnet fans are just like, why?
It's not him personally, actually. It's sort of tactically how the game was going. I think we obviously Payne scored a hat trick, and we knew it from the home game that he was a good player. He played unbelievable in that game where we draw 1-1. I thought he was the best player on the pitch. And our midfield three in the first half kept him really quiet. We had a midfield three in there of Hartigan, Offerball, and Winterburn. We missed Mark Shelton yesterday, who's played, I think, pretty much every game this season. He's a big runner for us, not technically the best, but will get about the pitch and break up the game and stuff like that. So we put Ben Winterburn in then, similar type of player, bit more technically gifted. But we made the sub at half time, I think, to go more attacking. We put quite a few crosses in the box in the first half, which we weren't getting on the end of. And obviously, you've got Ollie Hawkins, who's 6'5". However, we sacrificed a midfielder for a striker, and then there's a giant gap in the middle of the pitch, and it allowed all your better players to get on the ball and play two touch and get the ball into your wingers who were making good runs, and that's just what killed us tactically. I thought it was a poor decision, and I rarely criticise our manager. I mean, we've had him 5 years now. He's taken us from basically the bottom of the National League to where we are now to what I would say is a playoff chasing side. Maybe not anymore, but what we could have been. But yesterday, I think he got it horribly wrong. And another thing, when we bring on Ollie Hawkins, because you've got a 6'5" striker, 6'6" striker, your first thought is, where is Ollie Hawkins? Let's go long. And that
Mm,
creates a transitional game. And you saw for the first, before you scored, for that first 15 minutes, second half, it was really end to end.
yeah.
And it just felt whoever was going to score would probably go on to win the game. And then there was another thing as well. I don't want to bang on, but when we made that sub, we ended up creating an extra man for ourselves at the back rather than up front, and we carried on pressing. So
Mm.
when we were pressing, you would just play two touch round us, and then there's a giant gap in the middle of the pitch, and it felt pretty obvious to me. But I mean, I was pretty drunk, so maybe I was wrong.
I suppose it's one of them where you're sitting there and you were like you're sitting there with the crosses that were coming in with the like you said with the play of Hawkins on the bench. We're like we need to bring him on. I've got it down that he was playing like a 4-3-3, which
Yeah.
we were setting up like 4-2-3-1. So it's very much a sort of copy and paste formation. But then you're sort of sitting there and think like, is he going to be that one striker in the middle? Is it going to work with him being there? So it was one of them things, like you say, you sort of just rolled the dice with it, and for the first 15 minutes, you were like, do you know what? This could work. And then, like you said, whatever team it was that was going to get that first goal were going to be the team to
The
go
the
on.
problem we had as well, so we I think it was a game of whoever took that first chance, and we had that chance where I think your keeper passed to Hawkins actually, and he slipped, and all he had
Yeah,
to do was cross it to Shamanga, who would have tapped it in. But we also lost our best defender at sort of the 60th minute at 1-0. Nick Tavares for me is up there in the top five centre backs in the league, and he's come off, and we're so reliant on him in the way we play. We defend 1v1. So we'll commit loads of bodies forward. But the problem is we then sacrificed him, and then we had Joe Kizzy, who wasn't deemed good enough for us to start last season, and now is playing for us, and a guy on loan from Leyton Orient who's come in and not had a good game yet. And we had those two playing at a centre back, and you've got your really fast wingers running in at us. Our midfield can't move because we've got two ball playing midfielders and no runners in there. It just felt like we were never going to win the game from the point that Tavares went off.
yeah. You mentioned obviously the player that you was missing in the midfield. Was there anyone else that you feel like if you had X player in, for example, that it would have been a different game or
There's some debate about Callum Stead. So obviously he was our top goal scorer last season. Started the season not in great form, but came into a bit of form. But then his agent and people around him tried to get a move at the start of January, and then I think they advised him to stop training basically, and basically he's been frozen out. He's a number 10. He's really good in the pocket, and that probably could have been quite good in that game. We also missed Reece Brown, who again was one of our better players last season, but from Dean Brennan's interview after the game, it seems like there's something going on behind the scenes. So there seems to be quite a lot going on within our football club at the moment, which is not ideal because over the 5 years that Dean's been a manager, we haven't really had issues like this. It's been a really together group. So it's a bit concerning from the outside.
yeah. No, I like to say it you'd probably look and I've mentioned this to Sam and I believe I sent it to you as well. The scoreline I think flatters both like it flatters Colchester and it's also sort of makes it look like oh Jesus Barnet were but
Yeah.
it must have been terrible. But I look back at the game earlier in the season with Chesterfield, it wasn't that Barnet and on that day wasn't that Chesterfield were bad. It's just we were just really ruthless. And yeah, Jack Payne never scored a hat trick before in his career, and he's got two this season. So, and like you say, in the home game, he was someone that you picked out as he's a real
Mm.
bright spark. And I think, yeah, like you say, when you took out that midfielder, brought on Hawkins, he just sort of looked, and it did seem like he did have a bit more space, which when he had it, he was then able just to get it out wide and then use our quick players to then be the difference. I've got to ask you, penalty, yes or no?
I can't argue with that penalty decision. It was Stonewall. I think you had an appeal before that where it was sort of debatable. I haven't seen it back, but at the time I thought I think he booked a play for diving. I don't think it was a dive, but I don't think it was a pen. But it's one of those where it's just he sort of initiated the contact, I guess. But the actual penalty, I can't complain. He's cut inside and Danny's stuck a leg out. It's poor defending actually, I thought at the time. But
And then obviously, I being at the game, you sort of get a little bit sort of caught up in it. At 2-1, penalty's just gone in. It's at that point where you're like, right, we just need next 5 minutes, just keep switched on and get another one back. But then 2 minutes later, you're kicking off again and it's 3-1. Is
yeah.
And I think you even said to me, it was like you've not seen Barnet be dominated off the ball like that. What do you think it was? Was it the quick wingers? Was it that Jack Payne had all of that space, or was it just Like, was it like I've never seen Barnet play like that? It was just an anomaly.
I think there's quite a few contributing factors. I think it it's hard like I think it's really hard to explain to an outsider, but from our perspective, we have the 23rd biggest budget in the league. So we're a tiny financial club compared to the rest of the league. Our players are not at the standard of the likes of Colchester, the likes of the teams in the playoffs. We are so overperforming. It is crazy given the squad we have on paper. But weirdly, we're underperforming based on the actual stats. We should be way higher based on, XG, expected points, create the most chances in the league and all that. But when you give top players like Reed, like Payne, Bishop, Lisby, when you give them time and space, they're gonna exploit it. The problem is when we get that time and space, we don't exploit it enough. And I think Colchester just showed exactly what we need to be like in games like that. There's been so many games this season where we're 1-0 up, we end up drawing 1-0. I could take Swindon on Tuesday night. We were 1-0 up, should have been 4 or 5-0 up. We ended up losing the game 2-1. So it's those type of things where you just have to be more clinical and you can do a lot better. But yeah, I think the tactical change as well, I mean, just gave Payne too much space. I think there's a big problem. Obviously, we've got Dean suspended at the moment. He's got a 9-match ban. So I think communicating tactically has become slightly difficult. I know he's definitely moaned about that so far. So there's loads of contributing factors. I think Mark Shelton would have made a big difference actually with his running power in midfield. So yeah, I think there's lots of things, and then obviously Tavares going off. It's just massive for us. He's such a key player. They call him the Rolls Royce. That's what he is as a defender.
So I was looking at the table, but when we went into the game, I think there was only a point between us. I think you was 11th, we were 12th.
Mm.
Unfortunately for Barnet, but fortunately for Colchester, the results sort of went in favour of Colchester as well. Colchester now sitting in 10th on 49 points, Barnet sitting in 12th on 47. Next game's Accrington Stanley, team directly below you with 1 point behind you as well, who got a 2-0 loss to Shrewsbury, who are absolutely flying at the moment.
Mm.
It seems since we played them, they've gone, oh, do you know what? Let's actually start playing football. So
Yeah.
thank Christ for that. Um, how are you seeing that game going, and what do you think Barnett's season's going to look like?
It's a tough one. So if you put the Accrington game into our next three games actually are Accrington away, Chesterfield at home, Salford away, and before that we had the 5 games. We had a 5 game spell: Swindon at home, you guys, and then these 3 games. It's like you're looking at 5 teams around you in the league, and you want to go and pick up points. And so since Walsall away, which we've won, we've picked up 1 point from 9, which is completely, you know. I wouldn't say blown our chances of playoffs. We're 6 points off. It's not that far. It's catchable. I mean, you look at the results in this league every week, and it's like teams are beating everyone. No one really wants to get in the playoffs, but I mean, we've got to go on a run, and we've been saying it all season. We need to score more goals. We need to be more clinical. I would say defensively we're pretty good, apart from yesterday. But it's just Accrington. I think they've got a couple of players suspended. I believe they had 3 sending offs in 2 games before yesterday, so I think that's probably why they might have lost yesterday, and they'll still be suspended on Tuesday. But we're going to miss Tavares. We're going to miss Kane Smith, who came off yesterday. The squad's looking really thin, and quite frankly, our depth is not good enough. Like the players you bought on off the bench yesterday changed the game. The players we bought off the bench made us worse. So it's like that's the difference. And if those players that came off the bench are going to have to start on Tuesday, I can only see one winner really. But we haven't finished in the top half of League Two since 2002. I think it is. I think maybe it's 2003. Like it's a long time since we've been this high up in the league. So I think we all have to take a step back at our expectations. I looked at it going into the season, going, "Oh, there's not that much difference between League Two and the National League," as everyone says. But actually, when you're at the top end of League Two, there is a big difference because of the quality of player, the financial power of teams. So we just have to take a step back and go, we've just been promoted. If we can finish top half, good season, and then we do a Bromley next season and build on it. I think that's the model we have to look at now.
Exactly, yeah, exactly that, yeah. And you saying about the like with the league and how results go, and you mentioned Bromley, they drew 0-0 with Harrogate yesterday.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's a mad league, and you look at Bromley's last five as well, 2 wins and 3 draws. So
yeah,
just because they're up there at the top, it does mean that you can actually go there or play against them and get a point. I think like you say, it's your first season back in the league. You're
yeah,
sitting in the top half of the table, getting playoffs, that'd be brilliant. But what you wouldn't want is get into the playoffs and then players that have got you there, they then go and then you're next season down at the bottom. So it is like you say, you just sort of need to build on it. But top half finish in your first season in League Two. If I was if coached were in this position, I'd be like, yeah, that's awesome. But no, like I said, I was very, very impressed with Barnet. I think your front three of Glover, Kanu, and
Shabanga.
that's the one.
Yeah.
They were very, very good. They were just very strong, very physical. You were getting the balls into the box, and there's there's a lot of teams that have come to this Jobstone Stadium and not really sort of performed to the ability that I expected them to. But Barnet, I knew coming in, going to be a strong team, going to be a hard team to break down. And yes, on our day, I think the players had their Weetabix and they were on it. But I think Barnet will be a team that will still be fighting for the playoffs. Looking at how you play, like I say, I don't think it was a case that you're just on a good run and that's why you're where you are. You're where you are because you are a very good, strong physical side. So hopefully, you never know, might be Colchester versus Barnet in the capital come the end of the season. But
Yeah, fingers crossed because it's a long old season to finish just outside the playoffs. That's what I'm saying. But
yeah.
we've had a lot of success over the last 3 years. We had playoff, and then we won the league. And a league of a year of consolidation. I think we'll accept it.
Yeah. Just remind everyone as well, James, again, where we can find you and what it is you do.
So yeah, we're the Be Brief podcast. We're on Spotify. We're only on Spotify. We do a weekly podcast where we talk about the game. We're recording tomorrow actually, where we're going to do sort of an hour's episode, going really deep into the game. Sort of we go in chronological order of the game, and tactically we sort of break it down. We both watch the game back and make notes and stuff. So we'll have a bit of more of an in-depth thing on what we did and what we did wrong, especially in that second half.
Awesome. Like I say, all of the links will be down below. Please do make sure you head over there, give them a like, give them a follow, give it a listen. And yes, again, James, thank you so much for joining me today and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Appreciate
So
it,
next
brother.
up for the U's, it is another home game, this time against Salford City, a team that, if you remember, from the last game we played them, we owe them a couple of goals. I am, of course, joined by Danny. Danny, how are you doing, mate?
Rocking. I'm in Edinburgh, so even though I'm not at my home ground, I'm here. I'm representing. I'm good, thanks.
Good, good. It's always what we like to see. We love having you on, Danny. Just remind the people what it is that you do, where they can find you.
Yeah, formerly a podcaster, so I did that for a number of years. One up front, Salford City podcast, no longer a thing. So I really love an invite to anyone else's podcast who I like and respect. So happy to join Ryan. But my own content is on the Medium website, and if you search for One Up Front Salford City, or I imagine if you just there's so little Salford City content on there, if you put Salford City in, you'll find all my one of my 97 match reviews, transfer analysis, or tactical breakdown. So that's me, One Up Front Salford City.
Awesome. We will leave a link down below. Make sure you do head over there, give him a read, and give Danny some love. So we will jump straight into it. Um, both teams coming off of results that probably they didn't expect. I think it's safe to say, going into the game, I don't think any Colchester United fan was expecting a 5 goal thriller and a 4-1 win against Barnet. And obviously for Salford, a 3-2 loss to Cheltenham in the sort of dying minutes of the game. Since since that dreaded 4-3 game back in, I think it was just before Christmas, was it?
I rely on your memory for that, Ryan. I'm no good with that stuff.
Let me just get the fixtures up.
Yeah.
It was 13th of December, kind of just
All
before
right.
Christmas.
Okay.
Um, since then, Salford played 11, won 7, drawn 1, lost 4, scored 15, let in 12, 22 points.
Yeah.
Colchester played 12, won 6, drawn 3, lost 3, 17 scored, 9 conceded, 21 points.
Mm.
It's fair to say that both teams have sort of put that game behind them and just carried on going. So I suppose the question in all of that is, since that game, what's been going on at Salford? How's it been?
Well, yeah, I think we had a really good run. We did as we tend to do around Christmas time and maybe even just a bit afterwards, we tend to do quite well. And but if you kind of have a dividing line about 3 weeks ago or something, oh. I mean, it's it's difficult because I'll just say this that I'm quite on the fence as to what the situation is with Carl Robinson. He's just got a new contract, so that kind of gives him a bit more security. Although the owners could actually just still at any point fire him and pay him up, and it won't make any difference to their bank balance. They're all very rich people. But I think the fan base now are just bored of what they're seeing. And the fact we're getting beat makes it worse, obviously, because it hurts our promotion ambitions, which the owners of, 325 grand for Danudo as a striker, 600 grand are up to for Ryan Graydon. That's serious investment for us to do. And quite a lot of players we pluck from League One teams, Matt Butcher, Brandon Cooper, la di da di da. And it just feels like the knives are out. If we don't play well tonight against Shrewsbury on Tuesday, I don't know what's going to happen. It feels like it's on that knife edge, and I don't know if it's been a similar situation you remember with your own club in the past, but it just feels as soon as there's a bad performance, everybody's out for him, and it's not a nice place to be. And I try not to add to that, but my analysis at times it's been negative because what I've seen has been negative.
What has been the change then? Because as read out, obviously the since we last played, you've had four losses, and actually looking at it, your last four losses have come in your last five games.
Yeah.
Lost it a 1-0 loss to Chesterfield, 1-0 loss to Accrington, 3-1 to Newport, and then the 3-2 to Cheltenham. You had the 2-0 win against Tranmere sort of slotted in there.
Mhm.
What's sort of been in the last five games? What's been the change? Is it new system, injuries to key players? What's going on?
Right. System wise, I wouldn't say there's been anything other than like a 5 yard movement of one player from maybe rather than being a box to box midfielder, this one might play as an attacking midfielder one game. Nothing major, no surgery there. I One thing I will say, and again, if you're not following Salford too closely, is why would you? Well, if you're not a Salford fan, the thing behind a lot of this is that we play very differently at home than we do away because our pitch is a pudding. It's absolutely terrible. So it might have been terrible when you actually, when you were playing against us. But my point is that at home we play direct because we can't use the pitch because you can't pass on it. So we lump it up to a strike force that's cost nearly £1 million, but they're not the strikers to make use of that type of service. So that for me is a non-starter. We're scared of playing out from the back because of the bobbles on the pitch, but away from home, we've been generally quite good. I suppose up until recently, because the loss against Newport, which was actually at home, how do you go from letting two goals in against Man City, a very creditable performance away from home, to letting three goals in? Forget the last minute rubbish, um, you know, compensation. We let three goals in against Newport, and we let two goals in against Man City, and a good Man City team. What is it? What's wrong is there's no plan B. Simple as that. I don't see. You asked about systems. We haven't really changed our system dramatically. We haven't really changed our personnel. There are injuries, especially in our defensive core. Michael Rose, Adi Aluo. If they come back, we'll be stronger. But I think the players' confidence now is starting to look shot. So no plan B, lack of confidence, and defensively looking really poor.
And I suppose that probably hasn't been helped by the fact of Garbutt picking up the red card in the Cheltenham game. Just before we joined in this call today, I was sitting watching the highlights from your game, and it just seemed like he wanted his shirt. He was like, I don't want to wait till the end of the season or till the end of the game, sorry. I want your shirt right now. And it was like when you're watching it and the ball's coming in and you're just let go of him. Like and he just but then he
Yeah.
does the age old thing. I didn't touch him. And it's like, come on, man, you've
Yeah.
been around the game long enough that any form of contact in the box, the striker especially, is going to be looking for a goal. So you mentioning that about the team, the way that
Yeah.
you set up against Cheltenham, foot mob that I use has got it as a 3-1-4-2 of Young in goal, a back three of Dorrington. I'm going to go with A, the centre back number 28.
I call him awe, as in like shock and awe. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and Garbutt, who obviously we know's got the red card, and then former player that we all love, Osama Ashley, sitting in the sort of holding role. And then you've got Minoga, Osterfield, Grant, and Harris across the midfield with Graydon and Namai up front. What what do you think will be different from that team to the team that we can expect on Saturday? Obviously, no Garbutt, so what can we expect?
Well, it's a bit worrying as to what we'll do without Garber, because he's been really good for us. And I'll just refer back to that incident that unlike a lot of Salford fans who thought, oh, well, he's done nothing. He's not. I'm not going to look at it that way because I don't feel that. That I think it's a case of live by the sword, die by the sword. If you play for Cal Robinson, you play on the edge of legality. That's how you operate. And that's what we did. We got burnt by it. Curtis Tilt, as you may have seen in previous seasons, would be throwing people around like it's a wrestling match. And sometimes he never got a yellow card or any kind of penalisation for it. The fact that now the chickens are coming home to roost, it just happens. It's karma. It's a bitch. It's the way it is. Um, do are we gonna be the same against you? When you actually spelled out that team, apart from maybe, I think what's going to happen is Brandon Cooper, who I really rate. I actually started off the season. He was very, very poor actually against the same opposition we're facing tonight, Shrewsbury. But I think against yourselves, I imagine we're going to feel the strongest possible. If Garbutt's missing, so be it. Then you'll probably have Garbutt out and Cooper in. The rest of the team will stay itself. We've got. I mean, it's a strong team. I don't know what you think of that core. Sam Rashford, and he's best at it when he's fit. One of the best defensive midfielders in the division. Matt Young, probably one of the best goalkeepers in League Two or maybe even League One as well. I would say. Hadji Minoga, love him. Kelly and Mai, most teams in League One and maybe the bottom of the Championship would want him. We spent a lot of money on this team, and if we take any of those pieces out, we're only putting worse pieces in. So that team you mentioned, apart from if Garbutt's not available, Cooper coming in, that's who you're going to see. Same system, same personnel.
Yeah, because Garbutt's it was a straight red, wasn't it?
It was straight red, yeah.
So in theory, that should be, unless he's already had a straight red this season, a three, maybe five, 3 or 4 game ban.
Okay.
So yeah, it should be obviously. Unfortunately, we're recording this on the 24th, so the day where you've got Shrewsbury, so that'll be his
Yeah.
first game, and then Colchester should be his second. I can't imagine if you're going to appeal it, it's going to get turned over.
Oh, Cal will try. I'm sure he'll
Yeah, he will
try.
indeed. He will indeed. It is very interesting you saying as well though, like Curtis Tilt likes a like wrestling match, and then obviously for us, we've potentially still got Mbick injured, so we might have Tavide up front. So Tavide versus Tilt might be a bit of a one to watch. But yeah, I think like you said, the actual Salford team, when we played you last time, I have to say, not a player that I believe you mentioned, Harris that played on the left wing, he was extreme. He's one that stood out to me. Obviously, Kelly and my love him. I think he's a brilliant player. Would love to
Yeah.
see if we was to unfortunately lose Kyrie's Lisby, I think he would be a sort of straight swap and a straight replacement for him.
Cost
You
you a
obviously
million
mentioned
or
great,
more, but that's by
yeah,
the by. I could be doing 2 million. So whether
yeah.
you've got that in the coffers, I don't know.
So and then you mentioned obviously Graydon up front as well. There's sort of someone that can score goals.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's for me. This is very much like the Barnet game of what I was expecting to happen in the Barnet game of it being a very good. Like you look at both the last games that happened, both teams 5 goal games. You know how to score. We know how to score. We know
Yeah.
how to defend. You know how to defend. So saying that actually it's probably going to be a nil-nil draw now, but it's also got the ability potentially for another 4-3 sort of style of game.
Yeah.
Um, Out of the sort of like Colchester team, what sort of players are you sitting there thinking don't really want to play against them, or do you think are like ones to watch?
Well, if we, I mean, we don't Tilt's now at Bradford, so like he's out of play. But if the Tilt to V-Day match, as you said, was box office. I mean, last season I think at our place, Tilt did him over because he 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 was constantly letting himself be bullied by Tavide, knowing that the ref was going to call it, and he did. Oh, ref, he's doing this to me. Oh, he's doing that, rather than Tilt being the bully, which is normally the role. So that one was always a good matchup. Um, if I mean, I know Lisby's got a lot of goals. I really like him, and I think the so you're saying and Bick's out? Is that an injury? Do you say, or is it suspension? What's that?
So he picked up an injury, I think it was about a week before deadline day.
Ah,
Danny came out, I think, in an interview after the game interviews and said that it's a hip injury, shouldn't be too long. Um, we haven't seen him since, and it's this hip injury.
all right, okay.
There's been no talk of him in any of the press. Any times when, on a Thursday when Danny does his press conferences, um, he mentions the players coming back from injury, and Bick's never been mentioned.
Okay.
There is a rumor going around. Apparently, there's already a agreement signed with Brighton that at the end of the year he's going to be a Brighton player. And apparently, Brighton have said that they don't want him to play anymore, which I
Oh,
find a
wow.
little bit strange. Which, if that is the case, terminate the loan, send it back to Charlton.
Okay.
It's we're obviously paying potentially a part of his wages, but
Yeah.
I find it very hard to believe that a team like Brighton aren't going to want someone that they could possibly see can go on to have an amazing future, not be still playing football. So I will put a caveat of he's injured
Okay.
out there. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting one for Colchester fans, the Imbic situation. But I'm saying all this and going forward, Saturday he'll probably be there and he'll be playing. So
Who
it's
knows?
all here. So
But I remember last time I saw you against us, I think they were both. I think Lisby may have come on as a sub potentially in that game.
hmm
Loved him. I thought, and Bick, well, he's terrifying me. Like I don't know what to do about him because I mean we're not a slow back three, but yeah, I'm not sure we kind of have the matchup for his kind of player. And I know I'm only focusing on the front of your end of your team, but they're the ones that caught me as the jewels.
hmm
Um, so they would be the ones I'll be watching out for. So whoever of those would be available would be not not ideal for us, really.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Um, so well, just before we finish this up
Yeah,
and give the amazing score predictions that everyone loves doing, that is
right.
very odd when someone actually gets one right. Salford, as you alluded to earlier, on the road, not actually doing that bad. Out of just away games alone, seventh in the table, 16 games, 8 wins, 1 draw, 7 losses. Um, Colchester at home, seventh in the league, 16 games, 8 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses. Um, what are you thinking going into Saturday? What is your gut feeling pre Shrewsbury, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I almost wish that it was a game that I'd be able to travel to, which I'm not doing on this occasion because of the distance. It just doesn't fit my schedule. But ultimately, we're just a better team away. We just are. We try and play. We allow Matt Young to bowl the ball out as long as the other team aren't pressing us too high. And we play from the back. We feed it to George Grant or we feed it to. I mean, I know Sam Rashley is one of our both joint loves. I know it formerly and currently for me, but he isn't the greatest footballer in the world, but he's a brilliant breaker up of play. So if we can have maybe George Grant dropping deep when we're in possession, but Osama dropping deep when we're out of possession, I think that will be a great thing. We are a very, very good footballing team away from home. We've played all of our best. I think Barnet away was a particular highlight. I thought we were absolutely brilliant. We look like a team that should be promoted. So I'm glad not to have to talk about our home form too much anymore. So in that respect, yeah, I think you will think, oh, this team looks quite good. They're knocking it about quite well. But I can imagine us conceding a minimum of 2 goals, and they won't probably be the goalkeeper's fault. And it's just how much we create at your end. And like you said, you class your team as defensively strong, but how often are they going to come up to a forward line that's got Kelly and Mine, Ryan Graydon? I don't know. I think that's one of the better ones you're going to face all season. So I can see a 2-all last minute winner for one of you, 3-2.
Mhm.
I can see that kind of thing going on. So that's how I'm feeling, to be honest, about the game.
Yeah, I think look at if you was to like obviously we mentioned the Garbutt situation. If you was to have your like midfield like little triangle of Ashley, Osterfield, and Grant,
Mm,
have them three up against Bishop, Reed, and Payne, I think that's where the game's going to be won and lost. I think that
right.
midfield battle between like your little triangle and our little triangle, I think that's where it's going to be the game's going to be won and lost because both teams have players out wide that can create something. Both teams have a goalkeeper that they trust and that they'll sort of back behind. Your
Yeah.
defense might be on the sort of use the term ropey side.
Oh, it is.
But like I said, I genuinely think Saturday's game is going to be won and lost in that midfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've gone for sort of 2-2-3-2. I think yeah, pretty much the same. I think it's going to be a very good competitive end-to-end game, and maybe one team will potentially win it or get the draw in the last minute. But now we've both said that it's going to be the boringest nil-nil in the world. But hey ho, it'll be one that I reckon that you want to keep out your accumulators. If you're a betting man,
Yeah.
keep away from it because it could potentially be another repeat of both of our last games, or it could be a genuine, a very, very entertaining draw.
I just add
Um,
this if I could, Ryan, though.
yeah.
But we like you said, we're recording this on the Tuesday the 24th.
Mhm.
If Salford don't get a point tonight, there could be a big consequence hanging on this for them on Saturday because this kind of run of form, I can't imagine it being tolerated by the owners. I just can't. If you give someone the players that they want and the form nosedives, that's yes, we've got injuries. Hasn't everybody? We can't. I mean, the ref last. I don't talk about refs as a rule, to be honest, but the ref we had in our last game made some very, very poor decisions, and I have to acknowledge that because it feels the truth. The Garbutt one wasn't one of them. The general handling of the early parts of the game I thought was poor. But if we get to Saturday and Salford have got no more points than we've got now, if we don't get any points against you, then I think you may be getting a manager fired, to be honest. I think it could be that close because the fan base are already there in the minds. They're ready for that. They don't want it, obviously. So massive, massive pressure on us, I would say. Massive pressure.
Okay. So then in a flip side to that, if if tonight, say the unthinkable does happen, and unfortunately we alluded to this just before we hit record, playing a Shrewsbury side that are absolutely flying.
Yeah.
If Carl is let go, say tonight, tomorrow, who would you want to see come in and take over?
Oh, you see, now that's I think it'll be I'm rubbish at like knowing the availability, but I will say that it probably will. We've actually just taken on an assistant coach, Steve Agnew, and I just imagine that we go into the interim route for a small period. Very, very experienced is Steve, I believe. So it would probably be him and Alex Bruce kind of running the ship for a bit, and then I hope we wouldn't look for just a name because the reason why I mean, we've only just in the last month, I believe, extended Cal's contract by multiple seasons. So it's going to cost us money to do this if we fire him. I hope we don't go for a name. I hope we go for someone who, like, the reason we wanted Cal is to build something from the ground up. And we tried to do that with no money, and then when the new money came in from Beckham and the new members' ownership, then we've basically bought a whole new team that have moved all our academy players, bar Kelly and Mai, to the bottom of the ocean. They're nowhere near the first team now. So I think the ownership, if they get rid of Cal, need to decide, do they want to have an academy-led League Two contender, which is a hard thing to do, or do they want to buy the way out of this division, which it seems to be trying to do? I think they need to figure that out before they go and get a proper manager or head coach. That's my suggestion if anyone's listening, Mr. Beckham. Yeah.
I suppose worst case, what's Ruben Almiron doing at the moment? See, get him at the wheel. I'm sure that'll be a barrel
Getting
of
paid a lot
laughs.
of compensation for sitting on his bum. Yeah, yeah.
But no, Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, as it is always. Very, very knowledgeable Salford fan. Just remind us again where we can find you.
Course. Yeah, all my old podcasts are on Spotify, which is the brand One Up Front Salford City FC. If you want to check my more recent stuff, which is from May last year onwards, so all of this season, all of my blogs are on the Medium website. Or if you just typed in One Up Front Salford City blog into Google, it'll take you to my profile page on Medium. All the articles are free. They're all 2 to 3 thousand words, all in depth. And if you want to know anything about Salford, the answers are there.
Awesome. Like I said at the start of the video, all the links will be down below for Danny's stuff. Please make sure you head over there, give it a love, give it a like, give it a listen, give it everything you can. Danny, best of luck for tonight. I will be watching the game to see how you set up
Oh,
and to
brilliant.
see that absolute legend, Osama Ashley, back playing. But yeah, best of luck for tonight. Best of luck for the weekend.
And
And
you,
it's
Ryan.
been amazing chatting with you.